Welcome, Adventure. I'm GM Goblin, your GM Goblin, and today I'm going to go over a new adventure that we've been starting. So normally I DM, or at least I have for the most part for the past couple years or so, and it's time for me to take my break. This time, maybe a long time. As we started a full AP, we're going through, my party and I, the Mummys Mask, which is a 1E Pathfinder adventure. And it's kind of a dungeon crawl and Egyptian setting with all the mystery and cool stuff to it. A lot of exploring. So today I'm going to go over the few things that I've learned, maybe a few tips so far. And we're several instances in so far. We actually are now level 3. And so we're still in the first book, which is going to be the half-dead city. So you start off in a town called Wadi. It's pretty normal. You can have some connections. They recommend maybe a few connections and read the player's guide for dealing with heat, though I haven't had too much trouble with it yet. And also, there might be one or two traits that you want. There's one trait specifically, which may be the only way, depending on your GM, to allow you to get the ancient language that you're going to encounter a bunch of. But in this first setting, you're going to be starting off, and there's going to be a raffle. And they've opened up a large portion of this city in Wadi, which is the portion they're opening up is called the necropolis. And so it has been shunned off and people aren't allowed to investigate it for hundreds of years. And a great plague had once wiped out the city. It was partially reclaimed. Now they just bury their dead in it. Well, there's multiple tombs and places that have been left alone. They are unknown, really. So groups of adventurers have been allowed to go in and explore these regions. So you start off and you get into your first raffle, which is given to you obviously as the temple or the burial grounds of Akentepe. So first, you may not want to watch this if you're going to go through it. I'm not going to try and really give anything specific away, but I am going to tell you a few abilities you need. So for our classes, we have a Feather Cleric, a Ironcaster Fighter, both of which, while they're good in their own right, complain a lot about the skills that they don't have. Now, these players normally have all the skills, always playing wizards, always playing, investigator or something, so they're used to it. But they are definitely going to be hindered by some of the skills you need in this game. And I'll show you a couple of our characters here in just a second. The other character is a rogue. She took 3 levels in rogue. So level 4, she's going to start going Slayer, and she's going to beat feet down Slayer the rest of the way. And then me, I am playing something a little custom. So normally, since I don't get to play and I kind of let my guys do and get away with a lot of stuff, my GM is letting me, she's kind of a new GM, especially for Pathfinder. Anyway, but she is letting me do some things as long as they're not considered broken. So as long as I can keep everything fine. She is going to allow me, I was going to play a kineticist regardless, but she's allowing me to play the legendary kineticist. And that is my base class. It's kind of even with your normal kineticist, in all honesty. There's a little bit of an upgrade. Nothing that big. The difference is going to be, as I've mentioned before, that legendary kineticist, we keep the burn the same so that it hurts your character with your HP and everything. We could have gone it the other way, but they weren't sure that it would really do too much to me, being that it attacks your skills way that it is, your dex and constitution, your skill checks. And so we weren't too worried about it. We figured that HP was fine. I don't plan on burning myself to death anyway. And then I ran through a little bit of a conundrum, as my character is a mixture of the Onslaught Blaster and Elemental Scion. So the Onslaught Blaster is going to take away your composite blast. It gives you just basic blasts, so you're not going to get composite, but it increases damage by increasing the number of blasts that you get as you level. Now, not as quickly as composite blast, but then there's some static advancements whenever it comes to just the additional damage. I will do an entire rebuild for this class as I changed the amount of burn, because burn for burn, this class will outdo your standard legendary kineticist. So you'll have to be aware of that. And then my other class that I'm picking for this was going to be the Elemental Scion. Basically, I get locked in to one element. If you know kineticist, set of 2, I can up my damage at level 6 instead of level 7 because I'm going legendary kineticist. And it increases your base. If you were going to go single class, there's really no reason not to pick this archetypically. The biggest thing about it is the fact that you're treated as 2 levels higher for the purpose of infusions and wild talents, which means you get hold of some things at much better times, especially since we don't have a wizard. We have a cleric, and she's kind of going to be the battle cleric anyway. She's actually planning on writing a companion. I figured it would be better for me to take this, and then I will take every feat and magical item that I can to get as many different magical effects to try and pad us out. Plus, my UMD is one of the skills I'm focusing on. But skills was one of the things that we had some issues with, because the cleric needs animal handling, and she's going to be real light on things. She also has a negative to her intelligence, but she has like 1 skill point. The rogue, obviously, she is great. She's getting tons of skill points and everything. The main things we're missing is planes and religion, and I am okay. I'm gonna pad this with some magical items to increase my arcana. But I've got nature, and then perceptions handled by the cleric, and all of us are actually pretty good. I'm the weakest in that category. And then UMD, I've got to cover us with some arcane stuff. And then diplomacy, which I do not have the stats for, but thanks to traits and stuff, I am the only one with any good diplomacy. But going through the Temple of Akentepe, first off, remember to take off your bags, because you start off with a climb check. If you're dumb and your DM isn't going to be nice for you for your first roll, you're going to fall to your death. Always remember, first off, Traveler's Any Tool, amazing thing. You take it as soon as you can. Also take lots of rope. Put knots or a ladder in that rope so that you can let yourself down, because starting it off, you're dropping like 60 feet. You're like level 1. Means if you don't drop your bag, and I recommend dropping your bag down the hole that you first come to when you're entering Akentepe's tomb, you can die. You can die really easy because you're level 1 and you're going to drop 60 feet if you screw up. Or if you roll a 1 like I did, which thanks to one of my abilities now, air cushion, will never happen again. But so climbing is one of those things you're going to be careful with. You will need skills, and they mention this in the player's companion, but you're going to need skills like arcane, maybe a little dungeoneering. Local's really good, actually, to help you with stuff. Nature with some of the things that you're encountering. You will need planes and religion. which we were lacking even with the cleric. That is actually the reason why 3rd level I took a sage familiar so that I could pad those skills. So we're going to be good no matter what, but I recommend having one person that can read Ancient Assyrian and then having your religion and planes. And it's going to help you out a lot. Campaign's really nice. It front loaded us with loot really going from 1 to 2. Felt a little light going to 3, but we were still up. We looted everything that wasn't nailed down. You just have to figure out how to do it. And when going through this, I recommend, if you're an old guy like me, you know what to do to get past traps when you're low level and your rogue's going to possibly miss. So you're going to be taking this 5 foot at a time, especially me with my travel tool. And I had a collapsible 10-foot rod before then. Me and the fighter who had a polearm, we were going side by side, 5 feet at a time. And we were checking every step and we were checking every tile as we went, because there's traps. And it's kind of fun figuring out the traps because there are some that reset depending. So there's some that have a trigger and a reset. And there's some that you'll hit and it'll go off. And we tapped on it to count out how fast it reset and to see how often it would fire, including one of them, which was a dart trap. We triggered it until it ran out of darts. But at low levels, you're going to need to take it slowly. I mean, it's fun. You'll go through this. I guess you'll get 2nd level, at least we did, going through the tomb, and you'll find out some history, and that's pretty cool. And then after we leveled up, we went to like this little soiree. You get to meet with some NPCs, talk to all the NPCs there. You won't get a whole bunch of information specifically, at least we didn't, about what's going to help us with your next part. But what you do is you figure out a little bit about some of your competition in this. And that's going to help you later on, or at least we're at the point where I to help us later on. So we had done that, and then the next thing, we were going to a courtyard, and we went through this courtyard, and it had some haunts. So having a cleric with this was great. So cleric, high perception, helping us take care of the haunts when available. We had several haunts, nothing that really killed us because of the haunts. Oh, and if I didn't mention, swarms. Be ready for swarms. I was the only one able to deal with swarms, and I kept telling people they needed to bring more alchemist fire. But regardless, have a way to deal with swarms. Everything else actually was pretty easy to deal with our party. Pretty good. No real worries. We were able to heal ourselves. Of course, the first thing we did was buy a rod of healing, and we've got our cleric, so there's no issues there. You are going to take possible some disease, so we had to find a way and pay for a way to get a couple of our party members fixed after the 2nd portion, or the 3rd portion, 2nd dungeon we went through. So all in all, it was pretty fun. It's just your standard crawl, nothing really spectacular. You learn a lot of ancient history about it, if that's your kind of thing, and you still get to do the whole dungeon crawl, which I like. Going to our 3rd part, which is where we are now. So I'll update after this weekend, I guess. We run into some bandits. Thankfully, I'd upgraded my range so that I could stand back and start smacking people from 120 feet. So you get an ambush a little bit, and then we find some undead canines as we encroach on this temple that we go through. and I'll give you the rest of the temple as we go through it after this weekend. I think we hopefully get to play. And so we're smoking some dogs. Because of our builds, I don't know what our GM's going to do with some of this stuff. For the most part, like I said, it's been pretty easy. Swarms being hard to deal with, but with the rogue and the ironcaster, the rogue is my wife and the ironcaster is our buddy, and he's very much into tactics, kind of like I am when it comes to building. And so we built their characters, which their names come from some RP that they've been playing on for like a decade. But we built their characters to play into one another. And so maybe I'll go through their characters next. He is polearm. He's a polearm fighter. He is tripping as often as he can. And both of them are taking combat reflexes. And so they're getting extra attacks every single turn. He's able to, before his even initiative, use attacks of opportunity, and because of his reach, he's able to trip, or in some cases with really light enemies, downright kill them before they pass their first chance, which I know that will peter out a little bit as things get tougher. And but she is only going to get worse too. Both of them are playing off of each other, using butterfly. What was that? Butterfly kick, something like that. I'll do an episode off of both of their characters and how they're going to play off each other. But there's going to be a lot of attacks of opportunity that they're going to be spreading back and forth in crits. She's dual wielding Slayer. She's doing kookeries because just kookeries. And so she's going to have a very high crit range with them. Yeah, all in all, it's been a very fun game. I am loving getting to play a kineticist, especially this one, because I can divide up my D6s of damage amongst multiple targets. So it's great. And now that I've got my familiar, we don't have to worry about skills for anything. It's just been pretty fun. Kind of a standard dungeon crawl, really nothing super spectacular. Just make sure, like most APs from Paizo, you can deal with swarms and have a good time. I think that's about it, and we'll see how this Saturday's games goes. All right, guys. Good luck. Remember to like and subscribe. Stick around for some of my other videos as I get back into it this spring, and good gaming.